Go live. If you're catching us on the replay, this is just a simple 20-second lead in so we can let some ads play. And that way, those who've been patiently waiting for CarrGuy and SixFan show don't catch us mid-sentence. Otherwise, if it's Thursday night and it's 7 p.m. Central Time, that means it's time for the CarrGuy and SixFan show, powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast. I'm your host, Grant Tommy. I am straight SixFan, which makes me SixFan of this operation, which means this guy
is Jason, and I am the car guy of the CarrGuy and SixFan show. Thank you guys for joining us. We're really excited tonight to have our guest on the show. Before we get into introducing her, let's take a look at the chat and see who's joined us early. We usually have some early birds, and Ryan from Everything is Broken Garage is usually the first one in the chat. Will's Wheels, as well as John, Custom Car Nerd from Get Out and Drive podcast. We will have some more people creeping in there. We're showing, I think, 6 or 7 in there. Only a few are chatting. So if you're here, make sure you jump in the chat, say hi. Also, hit that thumbs up button and make sure you share this live stream out on your socials. That way we can get as many people in here as possible so that we can let everybody know who our guest is. Grant, why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest?
Well, we typically let our guests introduce themselves, but I guess I'll preface this by saying that former guest of ours, Liv Scafidi, gave us the recommendation to have our guest tonight, and so I will turn it over to Lala to let her introduce herself.
Hi guys, excited to be here. My name is Lala. I drive a 92 Mustang. You can probably see it behind me here, but yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Well, Lala, I stumbled upon your channel because my last project car was a Ford Fairmont, another Fox body. So I was always, trying to consume all possible Fox body content. And your channel's relatively young, I guess we'll say, when you compare it to like Jason or myself, who've been doing this for 7 years and still struggling to grow. But what caught my eye was just the cinematography of kind of like a channel trailer. It just really blew me away. The quality of video. Tell us basically, what is it that got you into YouTube, and like, how did you kick ass out of the gate so well with some of your footage?
So I started my YouTube channel because I wanted to document me doing a turbo kit on my car in less than 60 days. I was getting ready for Mustang week at the time, and I was like, this would just be great to look back on and just look at all of our progress as we're doing this in such a short amount of time. So that's where I kind of started, and it's taken off since then. I would say a lot of my growth can be attributed to, me sharing it on my other socials, my personal friends and family being very excited about it. And I think people get excited when you're doing build series and things like that on YouTube. They want to see the progress of your car and things you're doing. So just took off, I guess. I mean, I'm definitely still, and I need to be more consistent with posting content, but it's been a fun ride so far.
So, Lala, one of the things that we often, want to know is, I'm just looking at your YouTube channel here now. You've got 1,160 something subscribers. How long has it been since you started your YouTube channel to get to the point you're at today?
So I started my YouTube channel, I think in July. So I've had YouTube for less than a year. I would say I hit 1,000 subscribers probably in January, around there. So it's taken me not long to hit 1,000, but I'm trying to grow.
Well, and that's just like all of us. And so I guess my follow-up question to that is, what do you attribute that fast-paced growth to? Is it the content? Do you think it's the Fox body is what's drawing them in? Do you think it's your own personality? Is it a combination of both? What do you think it is?
I would probably say it's, my personality. People excited to see me build a car. You don't see a lot of women hands-on, building their cars. So I think that's just something fresh and to the YouTube platform itself. And people get excited about seeing that. And a lot of women, I feel are also inspired watching that kind of content as well.
So let's stick on that topic just for a second. How since you've started, how many other women have reached out to you and given you, testimonials or just kind of feedback? And what are some of the things you're hearing after you started your channel?
So I actually had one young lady message me. She was buying her first Fox body. And she's like, I watch your channel. I love your content. Can you like give me some advice on, buying my first Fox? And I was like, well, do you have a picture? So she sent the picture and I was like, well, you want to pay attention, to the strut towers, make sure, there's not any rust on it. And, make sure like the body itself is not twisted. I told her to take a magnet just in case, in case the body was like full of Bondo, like you never want that. But she said she enjoyed watching my content. I've recently started Turbos and Tatas, which is I'm building another Fox body, which I'll be drag racing. It's a charity car, basically. And I've had a lot of people who've been touched by breast cancer reach out to me and say how, they think what I'm doing is inspiring. So it's really touching. It's been touching so far. So, yeah.
Before we jump into the next question, because we've had some more people jump into the chat, I want to make sure that we acknowledge them as well. Dudes with Wrenches has jumped in there. King Eric, the greatest of all. Fox Can Fix It, another Fox body guy. We've also got Ed Lakin, as well as Paul Meyer, who is our producer over at the Get Out Drive podcast. So what is it that you find attractive about a Fox body Mustang? Now, I know they probably are some of the most popular, Mustangs, of course, but popular hot rodded cars out there. There's people doing all kinds of things. They're coyote swapping them. They're LS swapping them, which is a little bit taboo to some of these people. What is your attraction specifically to the Fox body, and why all the work and why all the custom work that you're doing to it?
Sure. So I guess going back in history, my dad had an 89 Fox that he used to drag race. So I think, just watching him race as a kid, that was just very inspiring for me. And I think that's where the love of them came from. But, I have a special place for notchbacks. That's just my preference, the notch versus hatch. But I love notchbacks because of just, I don't know, the body lines. It's just such a beefy, but sleek car at the same time. Like, it doesn't have a bad angle. The back, the front, the side, it's all sleek. It's all just, I don't know. I just love it. I really don't know. But yeah, my love for Fox body definitely started with my dad. So I guess I can blame him for that.
Oh, there you go.
An overall great chassis, I think, just to work with. Everyone LS swapping, and it's lightweight. It's aero. It's great. I love it.
And I think I can go back to, if somebody said, well, what is your favorite Mustang? I probably would be partial to the Notchback as well. And for the simple fact that, as a rule, they were generally the low key, the LX model, the 4-cylinder, the, just not real fancy, and the unappreciated. And one of the things that Grant and I kind of enjoy about older cars is just that. The unappreciated ones. Grant's just got himself a Grand Prix, a 79 Grand Prix. And I've got an old Chrysler Cordoba. So these are cars that they have relatives that are famous, but they were the underappreciated one. I think the LX kind of falls within that same category.
Absolutely. It's definitely picked up in popularity. I'm trying to find, that's the platform I'll be using for my drag build, is another Fox body. I would like to get another notchback if I can find one. But right now, the market is a little crazy. So, yeah. So, when I bought my car compared to what they're going for now.
Yeah. So I was wanting to spend some time talking about Notchback versus the world, basically, because I'm 30, going to be 37 here in a month. And so, I'm a driving age circa right around 2000, and Fox body Mustangs were hot then. And so now, like what you're just talking about, the price for them is ridiculous because we've all now grown to an age where we think we can afford them. So now we have money to throw around. So now we've inflated this market for cars that are like 30 years old,
Right.
One of my cousins, he rebuilt I think it was an 88 or 89. It was a convertible, like early 90s. And someone wrecked one. and so he got a really good deal from his uncle who took on wrecked vehicles, and so he learned how to paint and body. I mean, it's a beautiful car, like metallic blue, and so that's when I kind of fell in love with Fox bodies. But there was a point in time, notchbacks, like, because they were like what Jason just said, they were like the least desirable, all that stuff. There was some tipping point at some point in time where everybody's like, wait a second, yeah, the hatchbacks were kind of ugly. Like, I think the notchbacks really are the best looking ones. But do you, Lala, remember kind of, do you feel like there was a tipping point at some point in time when notchbacks really became the more desirable version of the Fox body?
I can't say I can think of like a specific time. Like I don't know. My dad's was a notchback, so I think that's why I love the notchback. If he had a hatch, I'd probably be like, I love a hatch. Da, da, da. My younger brother actually has a hatch, and he loves his. But I don't know, just something about a notch to me. Just the rear end, just the whole rear of the car, I think, just does it for me.
So I think you've already said it that that because your dad had a notchback. My next question was going to be simply, what got you into cars? Is there a specific thing that's got you there? Maybe a story about your dad, or maybe that specific car. But what is it that brings Lala into the car world? What makes her a car person?
Well, my dad is a huge motorsport car enthusiast. Like I said, I grew up watching him race, and I think I feel like I can only remember so much from when he was racing, because I think I was like 6 or 7 at the time. But I know I saw him do a wheelie, and I swear he was like on his bumper, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. So, that's just something that's stuck in the back of my mind always from when I was a kid. And then, growing up, I always gravitated to more of like car groups and things like that, and hanging out through my young high school, college days. My first car was a Mustang. It wasn't a Fox body, but it was a Mustang. I think it was like a 2001. It was a V6. I thought it was the hottest, fastest thing in town with my little V6. But I think it's just something that's always stuck with me, and it's never left.
Well, we've had a lot of comments in the chat, people kind of chiming in about their takes on Fox bodies and Mustangs as a whole. So from LTDs to Thunderbirds to talking about the value of the notchback. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little easier entry. Lala, I guess what I'm curious, I've also just kind of, I don't know, reflected on myself. I always loved I guess that'd be 88 to 93 body style for the longest time, but there was a tipping point for me where I actually fell in love more with the 4i version of Fox bodies.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, I think it's just being more derelict, being a little more different. But the communities that you roll in with Fox bodies, what are some of the things that are those constant kind of things you're poking fun at each other from the 4i crowd to the Aero nose?
Ooh, poking fun.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's a good question. I don't know. I think we're
too much love to go around in the Mustang.
Yeah, we're more supportive than making fun of each other. At least the people that I associate with. I would say probably the rear of the car. That's probably the biggest thing I've heard. Like with the hatch, they just like the slant and how the rear door goes up. A lot of people just don't like the look of that. But I mean, I don't mind it necessarily. But I see some people saying that the hatch was like ugly. I don't think they're ugly, but
well, I think there's a car out there for everyone, and for some of us, it's Mustangs. For some of us, it's square body Chevy pickups, and some of us it's a modern car. And I think that one of the things Mustangs have done, or at least a Fox body Mustang had done, was it created almost a new, a fresher, younger breed of hot rodders, in the sense that, okay, here's a car that's been around since, Grant, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 78 was the first year for the Fox body Mustang. So, and they go
79 for the Mustang, but 78 for the platform. So
there you go. So like you start looking at these cars, and as you said earlier, you mentioned about, here we are, Some people are at the age that they can afford to, buy one of these cars now, even at their inflated pricing. And, we're at that point where we've got some disposable cash. We can go and we can put a 4-link setup like you just did on yours. You can go and you can put a turbo, or you can go full roll cage and all this stuff if you're trying to get under the 10-second mark on the quarter mile. What is your ultimate goal with your car, Lala? Is it specifically to go racing? Is it to show off? Is it to have some fun? What's your specific goal for your car?
So for this car particularly, I just wanted something that was fun for the street that I could take on the track just occasionally. Like I don't want it to be a track car. I didn't want to like cut my car up necessarily, because I think it is super clean for what it is. Like I've done the turbo on it. It's a 76 millimeter precision turbo on a 302. It does 465, 12 pounds of torque right now. I actually have a dyno day coming up on Saturday, and I'm hoping to make a little bit over 500 and then just kind of leave it alone for the 302 that's in it now. And then I would like to, in the future, put a 363 in it and then just be done. It's a stick shift car. It's fun because I know once I creep up in horsepower, I'm going to have to start, doing transmission work, doing more suspension work. So trying to keep my price, a little low, my budget low right now, because the stuff is so expensive. But nonetheless, I think the ultimate is I just want a 363, keep the turbo that I have, and then focus on the drag build that I want to do.
Yeah, Lala, you said your car, you think it's pretty clean, and I would second that. It is so well done. It's just a great composition. That silver paint for one. I love the wheel tire combination on it. And I just want to be a 500 horsepower street car. I think that's really really sticking commendable.
It's fun.
I will, for all of those out there. So Lala, give your Instagram handle out, because there are some really great videos of you just ripping gears on your Instagram videos. So give your handle out for those to make sure they follow you there.
Yes, my Instagram is LaLaFox92. So LaLaFox92.
Which basically is exactly how your channel is named on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So
everything's the same.
So very good. And have you been to? I know that you have kind of a connection to the Carolinas, but have you ever been to? It's Foxtoberfest, I think, in North Carolina every October or something. Have you been to that event?
That is on my event list. I will be going there this year for sure. Didn't go last year, but I will be attending this year for sure, and I'm excited. So
I guess we're talking about clean Mustang, and I think so. Again, before we go into too many more questions, I think it's obvious to state the fact that we're talking about Lala's channel and her hobby and her car, which is the Fox Body Mustang. And I think this is a topic of conversation that can go on all night long, because I said it before, we're talking about probably one of the most popular cars, hot rodded cars out there is the Mustang. And I think we can narrow that down even further to the Fox Body Mustang. And, we can sit here and we can talk about it, until the cows come home, because there's so much information out there. And one of the things that I find is when you get a popular car, the aftermarket seems to jump in and jump on board with that to say, okay, there's 10, 12 different companies out there that make this part. There's a bunch of different companies that make that, and we could name them all because there's so many of them. But what do you find as far as, you're adding some add-ons? Again, looking at the picture, you've got wheels, you've got a big cowl induction hood. It looks like it's lowered. You must have some suspension on there. So how do you find, your buying process for some of these parts? Like, do you find it mind-boggling that, I go to look for something and there's 100 different things I can choose from? Like, how do you source out what it is specifically you're looking for?
Well, I'll just say companies that I use personally, huge supporter of Holley, Stiflers as well. I was recently I partnered with them. For those watching, I haven't announced that yet, but there's a big announcement if you're
Inside scoop.
Inside scoop. There you go. There are a lot of companies that sell, parts for Fox bodies, but I think I tend to gravitate more towards companies that like host events and really support people in the community, the consumer. They're showing their customers rides, they interact with them on socials and things like that. Good tech support. Those are things that I really prioritize when I'm looking to put another company's products on my car, for sure.
I think that's well said. Of course, as an influencer and a content creator, as you are, those I never thought about looking for partnerships through the lens you just spoke of. Like, hey, if you can tell they're being very customer centric and they have good product support, that's who I want to team up with. I think that's very well said, and I think Jason's question was actually very well worded as well, because I know Lala recently you already had tubular upper and lower control arms on the rear of your car, but then you decided, you know what, I'm going to take it a step further, and we're going to switch brands, and we're going to do tubular uppers and lowers again. So what was what was the reasoning behind that, and why did you make the switch from one brand to the other?
Right. So I had Maximum Motorsport on there. They're a great company. Nothing against them. They were already on the car when I got them. But I've known Sherrod over at UPR for years. And, now that I finally got my Fox body, I was like, I think I actually bought them at Mustang Week. Actually, I was just talking to him, and then he was like, hey, you think these will really work for your car? So, I bought them, but UPR is great for the Fox body platform, especially. And they're big with Mustangs, and Stiflers makes good stuff. Yes, they do make good stuff.
I'll speak to UPR too. Just my wife's Staley is a EcoBoost Mustang, and we put a catch can on it, and it's a UPR dual valve catch cam. And at some point in time, the O-rings would just swell up, and I couldn't stuff them back in and put the thing back on, so I had to order new ones. And they're like, yeah, here you go. They just shipped them. Like, they do have great customer support. So I'll second that notion for sure.
Yeah, and I think Maximum. So when I actually bought the car, it was set up more for autocross. I guess the previous owner had the car set up for autocross, and I think Maximum Motorsports is for more stuff like that. UPR is more track focused, drag racing based. So I think that's just a better fit for me and my goals per se. UPR is great. Yeah.
Well, and I think too, to some degree, when it comes to, partnering with companies, it really has to be a mutual partnership. You've got to want to use their part. They in turn have to want to use you as the ambassador of what they're providing to you. And like, I find, like, when it came time to put EFI on my truck, I did source out 2 or 3 different companies, and one of them that decided that they would go with me, I took a chance with Phytech against a lot of people's judgment, because they said, oh, they have so many problems and this and that. Well, when I got looking, there's other companies out there, they have problems too. And when you go to forums and you go to look at them, you got to go with a company that you can trust. And one of the things that somebody locally here told me was that, it doesn't matter what you have. You may have an issue down the road. It's not the issue that you have, it's how it gets dealt with. And I found that with Phytech, that when I called them, they were very quick to respond to the email when I had a problem, when I reached out to the lady that looked after my sponsorship. But when I called tech support, it was like, he spent literally an hour on the phone with me while I was tuning it once I got the part back. So if you can find a company that you enjoy dealing with, don't listen to anybody else who hasn't dealt with somebody, or who just maybe has a bad taste in the mouth. Deal with somebody who you can trust, somebody that looks after you, somebody that you have a rapport with. Because if you're building a rapport, the next time around, you know exactly what you're going to get.
Right.
One of the things you had mentioned about the company, what was it, UPR?
Yeah.
So you've developed a relationship with this person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that when the time comes that you need something else down the road, you're probably going to hit them up first, right?
Absolutely.
So what are some of the sponsorships, when it comes time to give sponsorships, what are some of the things that you look for, and how do you approach that in an effort to benefit both of you?
when I'm looking, when you, I'm sorry, when
So
I'm
if
looking.
you're looking for a sponsorship,
Okay.
how do you approach that company or that person to find out what's going to work for both of you?
Right. So I basically, figure out what my end goal is in mind first, and then I'll go browse their catalog and I'll say these are the particular parts I was thinking for my next goal or project, if you will, and I think your products would take me to the next level. And then I'll go into, here's what I can present or do for you. I can do install videos, promotions on all of my social channels, things like that. And then I'll kind of go into like the events that I'm going in, that I'll be attending as well. So I think that's my approach when I'm reaching out to companies for partnerships or sponsorships.
And I think one of the things you said right there at the end is another, I guess, light bulb moment for myself when you talk about and the events I'm planning on attending. So yes, there will be a digital presence. There will be the things I'm doing on the social, like we all know that that's what we are. We're all creators, influencers.
Right.
But then I'm going to take your product to other places and be able to talk about it in real life in real person. So I think it's really good advice. Jason, as we're kind of at the halfway point, did you want to maybe take a moment and remind people of next week's show? Of course, it will be the season finale. It's our awards show, but also kind of the ramifications of keeping track of those who've been given super chats all season long.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that Grant and I've always done is, when we're doing these live streams, is super chats do happen, and we don't take them lightly. We want to make sure that we're keeping track, knowing who's given them. So Grant and I have been keeping track of that all season long for season 7. And those people who have donated super chats, names go into a little bit of a draw, and we will be doing something for those people in next week's show. So if you're a regular and you watch the CarrGuy and SixFan show all the time, then make sure you tune into next week's episode over on my channel, because we are going to be having our annual awards show, which are just some fictitious, funny awards that we give out in the name of our guests, based on the experience that we had while they were on the show. So make sure you tune into that, and we'll be looking after those super chatters. So don't forget about that. The other thing I want to mention before we get going too much further again is that this live stream is powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast. So if you're looking for more great content to enjoy while you're driving to work or while you're running or whatever you're doing, then go hit up your favorite podcast place, look up Get Out and Drive, because we have a lot of fun over there. We're learning lots. We're meeting some really great people, and we're just simply having fun. So if you want to learn more about people and the industry and talk about cars and racing, then hit up Get Out and Drive podcast with myself and John, Custom Car Nerd Meyer, as the co-hosts of that podcast.
Well, Lava, at this point too, we always tell the chat that we kind of open it up to them to start thinking of questions, because oftentimes you can't think of them off the top of your head. So we like to give them a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a chance to start thinking of them. So I guess we'll take a moment though too and talk about, as you reflect on your YouTube journey, what are and it's not even a year old yet, but what are some of the lessons you've learned along the way, or things you wished you would have known earlier?
Things I wish I would have known earlier. So I actually talked to a friend of mine, Bill, over at CJ Pony Parts. He called me. We were actually at PRI, and I told him, where my subscriber count was, and he was like, well, I'll give you some pointers and kind of help you work on that. So he actually looked over my channel, and there were some things that I were not doing that I think were keeping me from being more visible, like doing things like tags and having like a certain description limit as far as like quantity. There's like little things. He recommended an app called vidIQ that I use, just like for metrics and stuff like that. That's really good. And it gives you kind of tips on how to name your video and make your video or channel more visible to others. So I think, I was already 6 months in by the time that I got that advice, but it's helped me since then, which has been really helpful. I would definitely say be more, I need to be more consistent with posting. Like I notice a lot of growth with people who have more consistent posting schedules, like once a week, every Monday, or things like that. I just kind of post when I have content to post. I'm still waiting on parts a lot of the times. Weather is a big factor here too, so I can't always get out and drive my car. It's put away for 5 to 6 months out of the year, and I can't go out and drive it, and I don't always have things to install. But I try to make content when I can, for sure. Yeah, I think that answers the question.
Yep, for sure. And I think part of what you'll find too is that with this second car that you're looking at picking up, you're going to double up a little bit on your content. So you'll always have something going, whether it's the current car you have or the new project car. I'm lucky enough, or maybe I'm not lucky enough, to have several project cars. And up here in Canada, we have a short window as well for being able to get out and drive and have some fun and just enjoy the weather. So we spend a lot of time in the winter season just puttering away at different projects, whether it's fine tuning on this or buttoning up that or a wiring job, whatever it happens to be. So I think what you'll find is with this second project is you're going to create yourself a little bit more content. And if there's one thing that I would give as advice, and I'm no expert, so you can just take it how you feel, but to somebody who's out there listening to this after the fact, if you're an up and coming YouTube creator and you're trying to create some great content, is don't be afraid to film or record more content than you think you need. Because what you can do is you can take that and break it up into, part 1, part 2, part 3. And that way you can still get into that consistent upload so that people can listen and watch what you're doing. And at some point it can give yourself a break. So that if you go 1 week and you don't record anything, well, you got nothing to lose because you got 2 episodes waiting in the background. Right. So I think you'll find that having that second vehicle is going to help with your channel growth, simply because you'll have more content and you'll be able to kind of get that process of consistent uploading done.
And I will say, with equipment, that's another thing I wanted to mention. So, a lot of people think you need like these fancy cameras and lights and yada, yada, yada to start. You don't. I personally just wanted to, because that's how I am. I'm like, I need a GoPro, I need a camera, I need this, I need that. But that's just me. But I would definitely say do your research on what you want to record on. A lot of people record on their cell phone and it does great. When I'm doing track content, my GoPro obviously comes in handy. You want to make sure you have the right mounts, mics, lights, all that stuff. So I would just say, definitely just do research on the equipment that you plan on using and make sure it works for the content that you plan on putting out, for sure.
The only exception I ever throw out there to the gear conversation, because I agree with everything you say, Lala, is the only one exception is a mic, because what I've found is people, if they can't understand what you're saying, they can't hear you, they're going to tune you out really quick. But other than that, it's like you could still have crappy footage and really good audio, and people will still follow along.
Right.
It still is half of the equation. But Jason, were you gonna? I've got a question from the chat, but were you gonna kind of add something in there?
That's all I was going to do. Is I noticed a question from Will's Wheels that if we want to pop that up and we can kind of go back if you had another one.
There was another one, yeah, because I think this one's really fun. Fox can fix it, and by the way, he's not a Fox Body owner. That's just his last name is Fox, Jason. So
there you go.
Or nickname or something. He says, hypothetically, if Lincoln had made a rebadged Mustang Capri, what should they have been named? Obviously, they had the Mark 7, which was based, kind of more of the Thunderbird and Cougar platform. All Fox bodies, but a little bit smaller. So I think this one's kind of fun. I don't know who wants to take this one first, but I'm going to dodge it since I read the question.
Idea.
I don't know. Like I look at the name of a Mustang, and Ford was always synonymous with using the Mustang and Bronco and stuff like that. And I think if you kind of steered a little bit towards the animal factor of naming vehicles, I think there's got to be something in there. Like, I don't know. Like, Lincoln was always kind of the upper echelon too, so it had to be classy. So I don't know if I don't know.
What's a classy animal? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what a class like a flamingo is a classy animal. I mean, I don't know. Badgers are pretty cute too from a distance. I don't know.
Yeah. So are koalas, beavers, all
So
that.
if there has to be an answer from my camp, I'm going with Lincoln Badger.
Lincoln Badger. Yeah, I drive that. Yeah.
Well, I think about their, I know obviously Mercury had the Zephyr on the Fairmont platform, but at one point in time that was a Lincoln. There was a Lincoln Zephyr resurfaced years later. I don't know. It seems like something with the Z, some weird syllables like that. It just kind of has a nice name to it, but they wouldn't have double dipped on it at the time. So I don't know. I guess we're gonna keep it animal based. Maybe a zebra. I don't know. Lincoln Zebra.
Yeah, this was going off the rails. I think if we head over to Will's Wheels, he did have a comment in there asking what was the most frustrating mod that you added to your car, and was it worth it?
So I actually added Scott Rod panels. It's not a performance mod, but it was definitely the most meticulous, and it was really frustrating because we were rushing. I think that's what it was. If I had 2 months to just work on Scott Rod panels and perfecting the Bondo and the lines and sanding it down, I think it would have been a lot better. But we literally had to do it in a week. Get them welded in, cut them, get the Bondo ready, and paint all in a week's time because I had to get my turbo kit done. So that was probably the most frustrating, but definitely the most worth it. It definitely takes the engine bay to a whole new level as far as look wise, for sure. Is there a glass ceiling? I would definitely. I don't know if there would necessarily be a glass ceiling. I think they're way more popular right now. Companies are recognizing more female automotive content creators for sure. But I think the more that I get into it, it's not going to be as surprising, I guess, as it is now. There's still a lot of females at the track. I just went to the NMRA NMC race, and there were a lot of girls out there kicking ass. So, I don't really think. I would say I got in at a good time. That's all I'll say. Actually, I started doing this at a really good time. I think the more that goes on and more start to do it, it's not going to be as exciting as it is now. And as far as trolls, I don't really encounter a lot of mean people. Surprisingly, I don't. I've gotten a few, smart alecky comments, but nothing that really, shakes me up or makes me super upset or anything.
That's awesome. And I think maybe another way of answering the question too, or to add to it, not to answer it. Maybe it's just too early to tell. I mean, you're not even a year in, so
Right.
like maybe it's unfair to say one way or the other, but that's fantastic that it sounds like to this point in time you don't notice any sort of
negative. I've had a few, but it's not anything that's like gut wrenching or anything like that. I've had another YouTuber tell me, he's like, the more you grow, the worse it will get, and I'm still relatively small, but I guess I'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of the whole, I have a hard time talking about this without, trying to sound condescending or downplaying or anything like that. I'm not trying to do that. I just want people to understand that, when you have female YouTubers, female race car drivers, female professional anythings, I truly believe that they have every opportunity that everybody else has. The problem is that when they come into a male-dominated sport or a male-dominated something, there's almost always that sense that they feel they may have to prove something. And one thing that I said back when we had Emily from Flying Sparks Garage on was that, as a female in a male-dominated sport is, in a lot of cases, yeah, you're going to get some hecklers, you're going to get some guys on you, this and that. But all you have to do is do what you do. And when you do it well, the respect comes with it.
Absolutely.
Right. So again, I try to tiptoe around because I don't want to sound like I know exactly where you're coming from. I don't, as a male. I'm not into the racing, but I've been into hot rods and been into cars my whole life. And I think it's absolutely amazing to see not just women, but younger women jumping in to this sport or this hobby and really knowing their stuff and having fun and being able to prove themselves just by doing what they do. So for that, I think that you're doing a great job, and I commend you for putting it out there for the whole world to see.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also think, that's been a goal of ours here on the CarRguy SixFan show, is to, at the very minimum, have at least one female content creator, because it is so male dominated. And honestly, it's like, of all the things that I'm into as a guy, like sports, cars, whatever, like I don't really understand why working on cars has to be like I don't really understand why that has to be like a male only thing anyway. Like, it's like,
Right.
It's probably been really attracted to a girl who's wanting to work on cars in high school, but that's just kind of like our dream. Like, I don't understand why there can't be more room. And so I applaud what you're doing, Lala, and Emily Reeves and Ellie's Garage, and the past guest Liv Sclafidi, who's a mutual friend of the show and yours. Because the more doing it, the more comfort level the next one wants. So
Right.
that's where we kind of started off the conversation when we were talking about the anecdotes or just stories you heard. And so keep doing you, because you're doing it really well, and we'll grow this hobby for everybody.
Thank you. I did want to address, someone was talking about Rode mics. Yes, I definitely recommend Rode mics. I was just like kind of briefly reading when they were talking about the mics for the camera setups and stuff. Rode. I have a Rode mic, so I think I have like one of the cheaper ones, but it works well.
Yeah, I used to have I bought the top dollar one, but then what happened? Something happened, like it broke. But then everybody was recommending like the low level one, and it's like, at the time, I think it was only been $50 at the time. I think it's like $110 mic now, but it's actually really good. The Video Mic Go or something like that, or Video Micro, or it's a good one.
Well, I think we're at the point of the show where we've kind of gone through some questions out of the chat, and I think it's time to go around the gambit here and talk a little bit about some of the things that are coming up on each other's channel. So, Lala, is there something that you can share with the gang here that you've got an upcoming episode or a specific mod or something you want to share with everybody?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier about the dyno day that I'm doing Saturday, and I'm actually doing a video now. As soon as I get off of here, I'm going right in the garage. I'm putting a boost solenoid on, so hopefully that'll kind of crank up the boost a little bit and get me to where I want to be on the dyno, hopefully. So yeah, that's a video that I've been that I'm currently working on, that'll be coming out hopefully this weekend. So
dyno days are always fun, and I think those are great videos because at the end of the day, when that video starts, there's only one person who knows what the end result is, and that's the person who created the video. Obviously, they edit it, and it leaves the rest of us kind of on edge, waiting to see, okay, there was 3 or 4 or 5 pulls, they made some mistakes, or heaven forbid something catastrophic happens while it's there. But nevertheless, fingers crossed, you're going to have a great day at the dyno. Can't wait to see that episode.
Hopefully I don't blow my car up, knock on wood, but, hopefully. But if I do, whatever. Yeah.
It makes for great video, I guess they say,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. People like to see things blow up, so. Yeah.
So, Grant, what about Straight Six Fan? We know that we've got a new project vehicle over there. Is there something in the works for that?
Yeah, so all of the raw footage is on my computer saved, but I have not even opened my editing software. I shot it all on Sunday. It was a nice partly cloudy day, blue skies. It was really a really good day for filming. But I will say, like, even though I try to hit every other Wednesday for an upload, this is one that I want this to be my next upload, and I want it to be edited well. So if I don't get to it by Wednesday. It may be a few days later, but that will be come hell or high water the next upload. Jason, what's coming up on Old Car Guy?
Well, I'm promising you guys probably for the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, maybe more, of the Ford shifter repair. If you guys own a Ford anything, say from the late 80s up until like the mid 2000s, and you've got a column shifter and they're so sloppy, you're always trying to find those gears. Well, old grandma had that same problem, so we tore everything apart. We got it fixed, and I showed you exactly how I did it. So that video actually just went live a couple of hours ago. So if you haven't caught it yet, make sure you head over to my YouTube channel, Old Car Guy, and check that out. It was a pain in the ass video to make, is what that was. But nevertheless, it's going to be very educational for somebody, especially those Ford guys who've been dealing with that sloppy shifter for all these years.
Well, Lala, I just wanted to simply say thanks for spending some time with us on a Thursday night and telling us a little about your story, your channel, and what you're all about. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thanks. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun.
Well, with that,
Yeah.
Jason, I'll let you close it out and take it from here.
Absolutely. Again, thanks from this side of the fence, from up here in Canada, for being a part of the CarrGuy SixFan show, and with our partner over at Get Out and Drive, who is helping us promote our channel and our shows so that we can do the same thing for the Get Out and Drive podcast. So thank you for being a part of that show, and keep your email open, because it might be something we'd be reaching out to you for the podcast as well, Lala, to have you over there. Maybe it's something you might be interested in. Hopefully
Absolutely.
we can get you some exposure over there as well. And to all of our guests in the chat, thank you so much for being a part of the CarrGuy SixFan show for the entire season, season 7. And next week is our very last episode of season 7. It's going to be an award show, like I said earlier. We're going to have lots of fun. We're going to have a couple of giveaways. Hope you guys can join us. As we always say, stay focused on the windshield, not the rear view mirror. I love you guys. We'll see you next week over on